So I've been working on a really cool, exciting project with the National Army Museum, working on Napoleon's horse Marengo. This has been with Derek Bell, who's director of Glueworks. Together we've managed to remove 3 of Marengo's legs in order to redisplay him for an exciting new gallery at the National Army Museum. Okay, so the first thing that we had to do was check that the condition of Marengo is actually quite stable and that the bones were strong enough to actually disarticulate. So we did that by checking for signs of fragility, which would be like cracking or flaking bits of bone. We didn't see any of that, so we felt it was safe enough to proceed. Once we did that, we could see that the bones were actually quite mobile around the metal armature that was visible. So once we did that, then we were able to actually start to try to remove things. Once we were able to get the first pairs of legs off, we could actually see that the metal was bent at different sections, which actually made it slightly more complicated. So it wasn't as simple as just removing each piece of bone like you would off of pearls on a string of pearls, for example. So we had to saw the first bit of bent metal off. Once we did that, we could actually see that they had filled all of the gaps with these chunks of wood, bits of plaster of Paris, probably just to ensure that the bone stayed really tightly around the metal. Obviously that made it much more complicated for us, so we had to sit there and pick little bits out. And then we could maybe move the bone just a little bit to get enough of a gap between the next 2 pairs of bones. We could then saw through the metal there and then move it out that way, pick more pieces out. So it was actually quite a slow, monotonous process, but it had to be because we had to be very careful not to do any damage to any of the bones. So basically now Derek is in the process of creating a completely new armature for each of the 3 legs, so it should give Marengo a more lifelike position. Then Conservation will give Marengo a final clean, any final conservation work that needs to be done, and then Marengo will be sent back to the museum when it reopens in spring 2017.